Shalom uvracha, everyone. This week we read Parashat Vaera. Hashem is saying to Moshe, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I promised them a lot of things, and they never doubted me. And you, Moshe, are doubting me? This is one Moshe's few places of doubt, and unfortunately ended up being punished that he wasn't allowed to go into the land of Israel because of this. He was obviously on a high level. We're not on that high level, so we don't get punished like that. However, the Torah speaks about the plagues that started to happen. The first plague was the plague of blood. The blood happened in the Nile River. By Hashem doing this, not only did he plague the Egyptians, he also caused the servitude and the slavery of Israel to end, because there was no more water, and you can't make bricks with blood. The Egyptians, this plague lasted for a week. So after this, they wanted to get Israel back to work. What did Hashem do? He brought the plague of the frogs. And the frogs again came from the Nile River. The Egyptians were saying, well, this God, he only has power in water. He made the flood before. Shows that his power is only water. So what did God do? He showed them. He took the frogs out of the water and brought them onto the dry land where they terrorized the Egyptians. I'm not going to go into the graphic details of what they did, but it was really not fun. One of the things they did, it was like they were protesting. They were making loud noises and making basically the Egyptians' life like hell, basically. It was horrible. They couldn't sleep, they couldn't rest, they were in their houses, in their beds. The frogs even went into their ovens, into their fire. Why? Why would they do this? They were showing the Egyptians that this is a miraculous thing. They were going into fire, the opposite of their nature, and they were cooling down the fire. The whole point of the plagues was to let the Egyptians, and not only the Egyptians, since Egypt was one of the most, basically the most powerful place on earth at that time, the whole world basically got to know God. The world had forgotten about God, but through these plagues, the world realized that God is in control. God is running the show. Hashem is in charge. The next plague was the lice. Why the lice? Came from the dust of Egypt. That's where Hashem formed the lice, showing that their evil had spread even to the earth. That's why these lice came. And this was finally the plague that the necromancers of Pharaoh said, this is the finger of God. This has to be God, because they tried to recreate it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't control such a little thing. It was showing that God's control was down to even the minute things. The next plague was the wild animals. The wild animals, just like the Egyptians enjoyed making the Jews' life miserable and enslaving them, so too these animals threatened them. They growled at them. They made the Egyptians fear for their life and scream like wimps. So just like they made the nation of Israel scream in their hard work, they paid back midah keneged midah, a trait for a trait, an attribute for an attribute. Just what they did, they ended up paying back on that. Every plague lasted about a week, and Moshe would warn them for 3 weeks. And this whole story lasted for a year. After the first plague, like we said, they never went back to slavery. And this basically led up to the exodus of Egypt, which we will continue reading. Be'ezrat Hashem, may we internalize these messages and bring some resolution and salvation to our lives in these challenging times. And may we see some clear light and goodness. God bless you all, and Shabbat Shalom.